free flu vaccination by the end of the week. In terms of attendances, apologies and applications for leave of absence, we have the CEO, who is an approved leave of absence, as is Councillor Ames. So that's both been indicated well in advance, and that was known. So they are not going to be present this evening. Everybody else is present and accounted for in accordance with the minute. Our Mayor, unfortunately, has taken ill, so it was a timely reminder that flu season is upon us. So in terms of that, she will be attending online. So the authorisation for electronic attendance, I'll read that out so everyone's comfortable with that. Pursuant to Regulation 14C2B, Local Government Administration Regulations of 1996, I authorise Mayor Hamilton to attend the Ordinary Council meeting to be held this evening, 28 July 2026, by the approved means of MS Teams. And I'm satisfied. Councillor Hamilton? Sorry, Mayor Hamilton, yep. You are in attendance?
I am indeed, so, and in a safe and secure place, so I can actually undertake confidential discussions as well.
So with that assurance and satisfying myself that that is in fact Mayor Hamilton, so she'll be in a suitable location from which to attend the meeting, and the equipment that the member intends to use to attend the meeting are suitable for the member to be able to effectively engage in deliberations and communications during the meeting in accordance with the aforementioned regulations. Pursuant to Regulation 14CA5 of the regulations, Mayor Hamilton has declared, as everybody has just heard, that they can maintain confidentiality during the meeting or the closed part of the meeting as the case requires. So that explains those that are not present in the council chambers this evening. Declarations of interest. Do I have any? I see that no councillor has indicated a declaration of interest. We move on to presentations or deputations. Madam CEO, have we received any requests for deputations, and if so, when were those received?
Thank you, Chair or Deputy Mayor. We've received one deputation from Mr Michael Grau. That was received at 3:30 this afternoon by hand at the customer service desk, and then was subsequently emailed to the Town of Bassendean email box at 3:39 p.m.
So in relation to that request for a deputation, you say that that was after the 12 noon deadline. In terms of the deputation, do we know the subject matter of the proposed deputation?
Mr Grau has advised that it relates to item 9.1 on the agenda, which is confirmation of the minutes. There's no further information provided.
Okay, and Madam CEO, that being the case, have you determined to whether to accept or reject that deputation in those circumstances?
Given the lateness of the item, given that it's advertised that deputations need to be submitted by 12 noon, it's my recommendation to decline. However, it can be considered by the council, so it's ultimately up to the presiding chair to make a decision as to whether to bring it to the council for a decision to receive or refuse.
Look, given the lack of specificity and it coming in after the deadline, which is published on the town website and I believe has been widely publicised, I'm inclined to put that to council. So I would ask for, in relation to that deputation, a show of hands for those who would be minded to, notwithstanding the shortcomings that the CEO has indicated, allow the deputation. So those in favour? I see two councillors, Councillor John and Councillor Carter. Those against? I see Madam Mayor Hamilton and Councillors Long and Burke. So that is on that basis. Well, I also vote against allowing that, as I'd mentioned. So that has not been carried by council. So council will not receive that deputation. Were there any, CEO, were there any other further requests for deputations?
No, thank you.
That being the case, we can close off the deputations component of this evening and move through to part 6. So that is statements by members of the public. Madam CEO, have we received any, and how do we intend to deal with those?
What are we talking about, sorry?
Moving through to statements by members of the public.
Thank you. My apologies. Yes, we have received one statement from a member of the public, Kathleen English.
And in terms of that statement, I see here in the, has that been included in the materials, or is it intended for Ms English to simply read the document that has been put?
I believe she's presenting in person. Yeah.
Please, Ms English.
Kathleen English, 213 Claughton Way, Bassendean. I have also provided the transcript of the statement already, so it can be included in the minutes. This statement is regarding agenda item 12.9, the monthly financial report, specifically the financial position of the Wind in the Willows childcare service. You have all committed to transparency, yet I have yet to see little evidence of it. I know for a fact that around 40 families have either reduced their enrolment or withdrawn from Wind in the Willows altogether because of the fee increases and the ongoing uncertainty around the service. My own twins are among them. So they attended a combined total of 4 days per week, and they still asked to go to Little Willows, and they were so excited about transitioning to Big Willows. At last week's briefing session, the Director of Corporate Services stated that Wind in the Willows' projected financial loss had increased by approximately $40,000 beyond expectations, attributing this primarily to the fee increase. That fee increase has only been in effect for 1 month and has only been announced just 2 months ago. If a single month's impact has resulted in a projected deterioration of around $40,000, that should be deeply concerning. We warned you that these fees were not sustainable for many families. We also explained that because of the way the childcare subsidy operates, much of the increase falls directly on families at an out-of-pocket expense. I provided detailed comparisons with surrounding childcare providers, demonstrating that Wind in the Willows would become significantly more expensive than comparable services. I want it clearly recorded that these enrolment losses are a direct consequences of the decisions being made by this council. Your responsibility should be to preserve this service, regardless of whether you intend to continue operating it or transition to another provider. That is your responsibility. Every family that leaves weakens the long-term viability and value of the service, making any future transition more difficult. Wind in the Willows turns 50 years old this year. It is an iconic part of this community, and it exists because of decades of community effort, trust, and collaboration. Council has a duty not only to manage its assets responsibly, but also to protect valuable community services that generations of families have relied upon, your fellow community members. Instead, a well-established community service is being steadily eroded by decisions that appear to prioritise the short-term realisation of a land asset over preservation of a 50-year community institution. That is not stewardship. It is deliberate diminishment of a community asset. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms English. Are there any other statements that have been provided? That being the case, we can take statements from the floor. A reminder that statements are generally 2 minutes in... no, it's not a reflection on yours, just to remind people that wish to make their statement that statements are 2 minutes, so if you can tailor the statement that you want to make to 2 minutes. Mr Grogan, if you could please attend the lectern. Yep, there's statements. That's exactly what can happen here. Just for the record, can you state your name and address?
My name's Michael Grogan. I'm in 5 Lamb Street, Bassendean. I'm not here as a resident of Lamb Street. I'm here as the president of the Bassendean Historical Society. And I just want to, from the society, congratulate this council on the way it's handled itself in obtaining 1 Surrey Street back. I mean, I could name names, individuals. I suppose there's a couple that have gone beyond the pale to make it happen, but at all times they have, especially the Director of People in Place, Michelle, and Cameron, have been in touch with myself and Mr. Clive Brown, who's the Vice President, and we've been aware of a lot of things, and as of now, to my knowledge, we may have the keys back, I'm not sure. But I just want to congratulate the administration and the councillors for supporting this, because I will say this should have never happened, but it has happened, and we'll move on. And thank you very much from the society and in generally the people of Bassendean, because that's the only historic heritage site we've got in Bassendean, which really needs to be recognised. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. Are there any further members that wish to make a statement? If you could please state your name and address.
Emma Barrington, 13A Deakin Street, Bassendean. I actually didn't submit this statement, so sorry to whoever has to type it out. But hearing from the President from the Bassendean Historical Society, I'd just like to draw your attention, councillors and administration, on the ability to turn things around for your community. That you have previously sold a historical asset, you've made the wrong call, and then you've collaborated, both the CEO, I can't recall your position, sorry, Deputy CEO, you've worked with community because you realised how important that historical piece of land, the building and everything around it. I also looked at what was proposed at the time, and what was proposed might not have been what the society wanted, but what the previous proposal was, with a child health nurse site, as well as I think it was I can't recall. Yeah, the previous CEO, I can't recall her name, but it was a child health nurse site, including something else, because there's two buildings. So we could do that for our community. We could do that with Willows. We could go to other state government, federal government organisations for funding. We don't have to do what you're doing. I don't like coming here and being aggressive. I don't know how else to communicate with you all to say that you don't have to close Willows, just like you've got back Surrey Street, and I don't understand the differentiation between the two. I quite frankly think it's all assets for us in the community. I don't see why we value Surrey Street and Pensioner Guard more than your own residents and their children. Like, I understand that not everyone can access the site, but you've collaborated on one hand and you've pushed back on another, and as a resident I can't understand that.
Thank you for that. Are there any other members of the public that wish to make a 2-minute statement? I see that there are none. That being the case, we'll move through to question time. So with questions, we have received three questions from Kathleen English. Those have been received in writing. If Ms. English wishes to ask those questions in person, we can allow that to occur.
Kathleen English, I have stated my address previously. Do I need to restate it?
I think the record has that.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right. So in the briefing session last week, the Director of Corporate Services stated that there was a greater loss than predicted, and that you're actually predicting an ongoing loss of enrolments in the service due to the price change. What is the total number of days per week of reduced enrolments since the price change was announced? The days per week.
We'll take those sequentially, so hand that over to you, Madam CEO, in relation to question one.
We'll be taking that one on notice, thank you.
I did email it yesterday. So to further that, how many families have left the service completely?
Madam CEO, Acting CEO.
Thank you, Kathleen. We'll be taking that one on notice as well. We'll examine that and get back to you.
Thank you. And what is being done to counteract this and to combat this, considering that you guys were hoping to make money and now you're making upwards of 40 grand less because you've made it unaccessible?
So we'll take the question in terms of, as I
What are you
understand
doing?
it, what are you doing about it? Madam CEO?
Only add that, yes, we'll take it on notice, but the short answer is we're continuing to offer a quality service.
Okay. If you allow me one extra question, which I didn't submit because I only thought of it later.
Is that in relation to the preceding 3 questions?
Yes.
Ordinarily, our convention is 2, but given that you have
Yes,
been,
I appreciate
I'm
it.
happy for you to ask. Keep it relatively brief.
Yes, thank you very much. So last week, the Director of Corporate Services stated that some families have moved to cha-cha-cha. Where are you getting that data from? I left the service and I was not asked where we were moving to. And other families have confirmed that they haven't been asked either. Cha-cha-cha Proprietary Limited isn't the name of an active daycare service. It's the owner of several services. So where is that data coming from? Is that something that is accurate?
Well, thank you for that. Madam Acting CEO?
Again, we'll be taking that one on notice. Thank you.
Thank you. I expect things to be said on record to be accurate. Thank you.
Thank you. In terms of questions, moving to the others we've received in writing, and we thank people for submitting their questions in writing. Emma Barrington, do you wish to state yours in person?
Yes, I would, in case they can be answered today, because they're quite urgent. My question relates to item 12.9 of the agenda, the financial statements contained in, I think it's attachment 12.911, commencing at page 676, indicate that childcare fee revenue is below budget and the town has acknowledged higher than anticipated withdrawals in light of the price increase. It would seem that rectifying this would be in the best interests of the service, its educators, who we've seemed to have forgotten about, and the families who remain, which is not many. Does the town administration agree with this? Is it a concern to them? And if so, what are you doing to preserve the service?
Madam Acting CEO, to the extent that you can, because I understand some of those questions might not necessarily be within your ability to answer, but are there any questions that I can direct that you are able to answer?
No, we'll need to take them on notice, but I appreciate you want them urgently, so we'll do that as quickly as we can.
Thank you. The second question, is the previous anticipated legislative pathway for a transfer of Wind in the Willows to a not-for-profit provider. I'm just interested to understand the actual key steps you'll be taking, the anticipated timeline of the EOI process, and whether an external consultant has actually been appointed now to manage that process. And finally, whether the town intends to rely on the exemption that actually exists in the Local Government Functions and General Regulations 1996, Section 30, Subsection 2, Subsection B.
Thank you for that question. Just in relation to that, where we would be calling upon the administration to indicate what the town intends to do. The administration can't always state that in terms of what the town would intend to do. They can make a recommendation.
Sure.
But in terms of what the town intends to do is something which would be a resolution of council. But to the extent that the administration is able to answer that, I'll hand that over to Madam Acting CEO.
Thank you. And I'm afraid the answer is the same. We'll be taking it on notice. Thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to put that section of the regulations on the record so that the administration can consider it.
Yes, thank you for that.
That's
and
okay.
Your third question?
Yep. So whether the town is considering bringing forward the transition to minimise further enrolment losses, and if not, why not?
Well, I suppose rather than preempting what the acting CEO might say, I'll refer that to her so that she can provide her answer.
Thank you. And we'll be taking that one on notice also.
Thank you, Ms Barrington. That being the end of the questions that we've received, are there any from the floor? Sir, could you please state your name and address?
Yes, my name is Michael Graw. I'm from 44 Wilson Street, Bassendean. I have 2 questions tonight. My question concerns the completed decision regarding the Wind and Willows site. The public records show that the council voted on this property based solely on a specialised childcare valuation, with no record of an unencumbered market valuation ever being presented. Now, if I go to Bunnings and I buy a gold shovel and I bring it home, I don't value that shovel at $5 because it can dig a hole. I value it on the basis of its unencumbered values. That's what unencumbered means. Can the acting CEO confirm whether an unencumbered market valuation exists on the town's records for this site? And if no such valuation was ever obtained, where is the public reporting? Was lost opportunity and cost formally disclosed to ratepayers prior to that vote?
Thank you. So just to understand your question, so the valuation is in respect of the land alone, is your question? You want to know whether a valuation of the land has been conducted? Because I did hear you say unencumbered. In that sense, is the daycare an encumbrance, and you would wish to know the value of the land alone? Is that
I'm going to keep the question broad, but to give you some context, there was a lot of hours and days put into how much that property the property was worth on a per square metre basis as a childcare centre. So how many kids could fit in the childcare and how much you could get from each child, etc. But as you know, under 3.58 of the Act, you need to account for the actual value of the property. And when you do a final disposal, you have to declare to the state records what the unencumbered value was. So you would have had to do it at some stage. And I'm just...
I understand that. So your question relates to the land and that legislative requirement. Madam Acting CEO, are you able to address that?
Thank you. I believe a market valuation is currently underway. Yeah, thank you.
And your second question?
So my second question concerns the minutes of the last meeting, and specifically a question I asked and also a statement I provided. So I believe that that's inaccurate, and so my question is, what will be done tonight to resolve the inaccuracies under the minutes? And for context, some of the omissions and changes are that my question about the deputation stuff removed some areas that I quoted regarding the law, that the response that was provided in the minutes used the word required twice, whereas the response that was provided in the meeting was requested. And there's a major difference between required and requested. That the CEO said that I could ring the hotline and speak to someone at the department if I'm not happy. And that the CEO said that I turned up tonight and said what I wanted to say anyway, so I can't see what the issue is.
So just to clarify, this is not the acting CEO, this is the CEO?
Well, according to the Act, the CEO is the entirety of the admin. So in this instance, it was that person, but specifically, I'm referring to the CEO in the government terms.
In terms of those, I mean, so that they are captured, are you able to provide those instances where you say that the record is in error in writing so that the administration can address them?
Yeah, but my question is what will be done tonight. I have them in front of me. It's a transcript taken from YouTube. From the actual meeting. And also, regarding my statement, I made a statement about hierarchy of law in regards to the transparency statement. All of that is not summarised at all in the statement that is provided, and I don't believe that that reflects what my statement was. So my question is, tonight, what will be done to remediate these inaccuracies where my name has been mentioned in those minutes?
I'll turn that over to you, Madam Acting CEO, but in terms of that, would the process not be that those concerns would be taken on board, they would be investigated, and to the extent that those inaccuracies are proven, that they would be corrected?
Through you, yes, we'll Sorry, I've lost the plot. No, we'll take that on board and we'll take it under consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. That being, okay, is it a question or a statement?
Just a short one.
But it's a short question?
No, it's a short, just an explanation to the lady that equated the situation with the Bassendean Historical Society and the Wind and the Willows. The Wind and the Willows, the one Surrey Street had nothing to do with even us legally as the Bassendean Historical Society. Just hang on.
There shouldn't be any interaction between the
just hang
speaker
on.
and the gallery.
It was a situation with what's called specific performance by the person that held the contract for 4 years, and he didn't perform to the contract, and the town has taken back its property. We were just there sometimes as an observer.
I've given you some leeway. Is there a question in there?
No, it's not a question. I just wanted to explain to the young lady that what we were involved with the council getting this back here, really as onlookers, had nothing to do with...
In terms of that, I mean, I do appreciate the point,
Okay,
but if there aren't questions, it's not framed as a question, then we can't
No, not
deal
framed. It
with
was an explanation. To the young
All
lady.
right, thank you for that. Question? Can you please state your name and address?
Marie Davey, 13 Blockley Way, Bassendean. I've come here tonight. The whole street has been concerned about the proposed underground power that we already have. And we apparently, are going to be billed for it overall. And we don't think that's fair. One of the reasons we bought in the town was because it was already underground.
And just for context for those listening, so in terms of your property, yours is a property where there's no visible overhead wires. They were sunk some time ago. Yes,
and it's already underground.
But Western Power's position is that you're somehow in need of being part of an undergrounding program when, for all intents and purposes, at ground level, you've already got underground power.
We have.
And that's your...
We have. And several other streets are in the same boat.
And so you being in that position, what's the question that you have?
Well, the question is, we don't feel that we should have to fork out for it. We've already got it.
Yes, so effectively, so what can council do to advocate on your behalf to deal with that issue?
Definitely.
Yeah.
You know, what else do we get for our rates? Okay, rubbish removal, but, the way, when we first moved there in Bassendean, which we love, but, it was so much easier. You had curbside twice a year and whatever. Now you have to pretty well go and do it yourself. Ring someone, take it somewhere. It's... And I'm not alone in this. There's a lot of people.
No, look, and certainly, rubbish is within the control of local government, so that's something we can address in terms of grounding of
that
powers.
worked so well.
Yes.
I don't know why it was changed.
So, but in terms of, I suppose, any what assistance or clarity the town can provide, I might just see if the acting CEO can provide you with some guidance in relation to that.
Yeah, well, yeah. We just need to know and put our minds rest about this underground power. Why should we fork out for it? Even the ratepayers. What about Western Power? What about the government? It's a Western...
Look, I mean, these are all legitimate and valid questions, and we'll endeavour to give you an answer this evening and possibly going forward. So I'll allow the acting CEO to try and provide some answer now, but I think this might be an ongoing answer.
That would be great. And a lot of people couldn't be here because they've got little kids, but we're very passionate about it, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, through you, Chair.
You can remain at the lectern. There will be a response provided now, so if you have further questions, I mean, ordinarily we would give people 2 questions, but I do understand that you are effectively representing a number of people
Yep.
that are affected. So I'll let the CEO provide that answer, and if you have any further questions, please.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to advise that we are currently seeking a meeting with the Minister Sanderson. We haven't had a response as yet, but we're certainly hopeful. For a further response, I'm wondering if the Director of Corporate Services might be able to provide an update.
Yep, if you can shed any light on that, please.
Thank you, CEO. Thank you, Acting Mayor. Thank you, Resident. I'll just respond, I'll give you some information. I'll just read it out for you, if that's okay. The town's mayor and CEO met with the Minister of Energy senior advisors on the 4th of June to raise concerns about aspects of the process undertaken by Western Power. The town has also requested further clarification and a review of the proposed contribution for properties that already have street-wide underground connections to ensure they are treated in accordance with the targeted underground power. The town has also requested Western Power to clarify why properties, which you're talking about, that currently have street-wide underground power will require to pay a portion of the capital costs of the network. Not the green dome you've already got, but the actual network we're talking about. We have a response from Western Power. Residents are correct that these properties already have underground power, infrastructure and underground property connections. These properties remain within the project area because the existing underground network is currently supplied by overhead transformers. Western Power has advised that it will replace the overhead transformers with ground-mounted transformers, upgrade sections of the existing underground network, and replace the street lighting with new LED street lights. Also, Western Power has provided the following clarification. As these customers already have underground consumer mains connections, there should be no operating expenditure, or OPEX, costs associated with converting individual property connections. The transformer replacements and network augmentation activities form part of the project's capital expenditure scope. The advice from Western Power therefore proposes that the service charge is not for another underground connection to the property. It is the property's share of the capital works required to replace the upgrade, the wider electricity networking supply of the properties in the area. Those without a green dome currently will be charged an additional charge for the underground connection on their property, in addition to a share of the capital costs of the network upgrade. The town confirms that property owners with a green dome will not be charged again for the connection from the said dome to the property. The town will continue to advocate.
So just in relation to that, Director of Corporate Services, the statement regarding those properties which, for all intents and purposes, if one walks down the street, already have underground power, that there is an ongoing discussion with Western Power. Western Power's position being that those people should contribute to the overall network, whereas the town is asking the tough questions and saying, well, is that fair? Should that occur? Is that the fact of the matter?
That is correct. That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Did you have anything further to add, Madam CEO? Or I think we can sneak one last one in. Name and address, please.
Sarah Bartholomew, 9 Meikleton Terrace, Bassendean. If that is the case, and some properties have been excluded that have underground power, why have they all not been excluded? Because there's several of our streets that have underground power that are not included in this surcharge. And I don't understand, are they getting their power from a different source? So they've got these different transformers that are supplying power to them.
Look, I understand there are some, I suppose, engineering answers to that which don't necessarily align with what one sees, and I certainly take your point that some have been exempted. I suppose the point of the matter would not be to seek to have those that are exempted included. It would seek to have others similarly, well, at least the Western Power component, because the discussion is where Western Power is saying that those particular properties need to contribute, or that there needs to be a cost for those properties to interrogate that and to get to understand how, as you've asked now, how do you differentiate between the two properties. So I might turn that to the CEO if she can have one of the officers, directors expand upon that, but we certainly are asking the questions.
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to hand over to the Director of Corporate Services to provide a response.
I'll have a go.
And I'll then hand over to the Director of Infrastructure.
It's a good question, and it's one that I will confirm in the next day or so, but my understanding is that everybody in the area of this underground power program, nobody's exempt. So if you've got underground power at the moment and you've got a green dome, you pay that smaller fee. Everybody's the same boat. If you don't have underground power, you pay the bigger fee. That's the best way to probably explain it. There's nobody in that area that's not paying, at the moment, not paying anything. Does that answer your question?
No, because some of the streets, I wish I brought my paperwork, some of the streets that already have underground power are not going to be charged this surcharge.
So I think in that case, they're not in the program area then. They're out of the area. So if you look at the area of the TUP program, if you're inside that area, the boundary,
right,
you pay. That's the way the current situation is. So you either pay the smaller fee because you've already got underground power, or the larger fee if you don't have it. That's my understanding. Happy to confirm in the next day or so.
Okay.
Pretty sure that's correct though.
And to understand your question, so you're talking about where areas that look as though they would ordinarily fall within this broad area have been effectively excised from that area. Is that the question, where it looks as though, if I suppose you cordoned off an area, you would expect them to be included, and your question is why they've been excluded but some have been included?
Correct.
Does that assist, Director, or is that something?
Yeah, no, and I think I answered that. So probably what we need to do is make clear where the boundary is. There is a clear map that shows the boundary, and I suspect the area that isn't paying is outside that boundary.
And is that a document to which is publicly available, or that can?
Absolutely, it's probably on Western
where
Power's.
where can that be located for the?
It'll be on Western Power's web page, and certainly the town can make it available. It's pretty clear.
Is there somewhere where we can find out, where we can look at our streets where these transformers or whatever it is that we're supposedly going to have to pay for to feed the power into our streets? Can we see how far away that is from our actual streets, and whether that really is a genuine thing, or whether it's just a Western Power trying to dip their hands in our pockets to say, well, yeah, we'll charge them for supplying this project? I'd like to know whether those transformers actually do supply our properties.
Look, I'll confirm with the Director of Infrastructure, but to the extent that the town can provide that information so that residents can see what Western Power is actually proposing and any rationale for providing that. Director of Infrastructure, is that something that can be provided to the questioner or more broadly?
Yeah, it certainly is. So as part of the underground power program, there's extensive drawings. There's drawings of the new street lighting. There's drawings of where the cable's going. Where the transformer sites are, that's certainly part of the full set of drawings that Western Power prepared. I will say that that there is some further communications planned, including an upcoming community session where we're looking at getting the community in, and we can answer some of those questions. Plus, there's also a number of questions that's been coming into the town over the last probably 4 or 5 weeks. And we're also going to be replying to those because we have been dealing with Western Power. We've been trying to get some of these answers. We're advocating, and we're in a position now where we can start providing some of those replies. But to answer your question, those drawings do exist and it can certainly be made available.
Thank you for that, Director of Infrastructure. Just in terms of how that answer might be provided to you, I'll just turn to the Acting CEO as to how they might communicate that information to you.
Thank you. The Manager of Governance is getting the contact information now, so we'll make sure we'll be able to provide that information in a timely manner.
Sir, I'll have to make this the last one, but please ask your
Harry
question.
Davey, 13 Blockley Way, Bassendean. I just want to know why council's getting involved in power when it's Western Power's problem. It's not council. And another little
I
one.
certainly thank you for that question. It's an excellent question.
You can put it onto me rates, but I'll tell you right now, I will not be paying it. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. That brings the question time to an end, so we move on to the next part of the agenda. So we're moving to the reports. Madam CEO, the petitions, there are none. The confirmation of minutes of the ordinary meeting of council held on the 23rd of June. Do I have a mover to accept those minutes as a true and correct record? Mover for the minutes of the ordinary council meeting on the 23rd of June?
Could I suggest, if we're going to be reviewing those minutes, that we don't accept them at this time?
Well, in terms of the calling for, in terms of that, somebody that's looking to do so, Madam CEO, that's the procedure, that first we should give someone an opportunity to move that?
Thank you. I'll get the Manager of Governance to respond.
Through the chair, the minutes of the meeting are just a summary of the actual meeting itself. The meeting, if someone wanted to take it verbatim, we actually have a live stream available for every person, which obviously Mr. Grow's looked at. Accepting the minutes is just accepting the summary of the meeting. So that's all the minutes are, is just a summary.
So again, I would call for somebody to move to accept the minutes. Councillor Burke, do I have a seconder? Councillor Long, is there anybody to speak against? That being the case, I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour of accepting the minutes? So that is Councillors Carter, Long, Mayor Hamilton and Councillors Burke and myself. Those against have Councillor John. So those minutes have been accepted with the explanation that has been provided in relation to the governance of that. Moving to the business deferred from a previous meeting, there is nil. External committee reports and updates. Madam CEO, do we have any of those?
Thank you, Chair. We have the Walker Zone meeting for the 20th February 2026.
And is there a report or a synopsis of that to be provided, or?
I'm afraid not for myself. I wasn't in attendance. I'd have to ask for someone from the council floor.
Well, there not being the that update to be provided, we'll move through to the officers' reports. And Madam CEO, if we could deal with that which is to be determined en bloc.
Thank you, Chair. So there's a number of items we're proposing to be received en bloc. I can list them all. So we've got 12.2, Lot 1718, Kathleen Street, Bassendean. 12.3, which is the draft Bassendean Town Centre Precinct Structure Plan. 12.4, Jubilee Pavilions General Arrangement Plans. 12.6, the Council Policies Review. 12.7, the Council Plan Quarterly Report. 12.8, Account Paid, June 2026. 12.9, Monthly Financial Report 2026. We have one item that is out of en bloc, which I can talk to in a minute. I'd just note that with all of those items that are en bloc, there's no additional new information.
Thank you, Madam CEO. So in terms of that, does any councillor have any item they wish to remove from en bloc? Yes, please. In terms of that, I suppose the councillor's question is, what we would be, if this were included as en bloc and were voted for as en bloc, would the offer's recommendation that we would be voting in favour of differ from what was presented at the briefing session?
Through the Chair, no, there have been no changes to the reports on item 12.2 or 12.3.
And I see that Mayor Hamilton had her hand up previously. Do you still wish to ask a question, Mayor Hamilton?
It's only that Councillor Carter had her microphone off, so I didn't hear any of her question, but that's okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, that being the case, so Councillor Carter has sought to move that en bloc, those items as read out by the acting CEO. Do I have a seconder to move those items en bloc? Thank you, Councillor Burke. Is there anyone that wishes to speak against? That being the case, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour of moving all of those items en bloc, please raise your hand. And that is unanimous. So that then moves on to item 12.5, am I correct?
Thank you, Chair. Item 12.5 is the item remaining. It's the request for tender for street sweeping services. I don't believe there's any new information, but I will just check with the Director of Infrastructure.
Thank you, Acting CEO. No further information from last week's briefing. Thank you.
Councillors, I'll turn that over to you if you have any questions. I just note that this item has confidential components to it, so if your question is confidential in nature, please let us know and we can go behind closed doors, given that this relates to commercial arrangements. Did any councillor have a question that we're able to deal with or wishes to go behind closed doors? I see that that is not the case. There are no questions of either nature. That being the case, I'd look for a mover for to adopt the officer's recommendation. I'm going to say Councillor Burke by a whisker, Councillor Carter to second that. All those, well, is there anybody that wishes to speak against this? Madam Mayor, do you wish to say something in relation to this? Oh, okay. That being the case, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Again, that is carried unanimously. That being the case, we move on to...
Acting Mayor.
Yes?
Can I just check 11.1, was that moved and seconded and voted on or not? I might have missed it.
No, we didn't have the ability for that to be communicated to Council, being that there was no one present to provide that report. Is that something which you can assist us with? And if so, we can return to that item.
I thought it was just noting the documents, but that's okay. We'll leave it at that then.
Thank you for raising that. I might just refer that to governance to make sure that we have dealt with that, given that we possibly can't leave it sitting on the table.
I'll ask the Manager of Governance to speak to it. Thank you.
What we're hearing is that has been noted, so that item has been acquitted, it has been dealt with, so it's not simply left there, so that will be able to be incorporated into the minutes of this meeting. That being the case, we move to item 13, so this is motions of which previous notice have been given. Madam CEO, I might let you introduce that and then you can turn that over to the mover.
Thank you, Chair. This is a motion that's been put forward by the Mayor. Mayor Hamilton, are you able to represent this item this evening?
Thank you very much, councillors. I did provide a significant amount of reasoning behind this motion. It relates to the targeted underground power programs, and it's a request to WALGA as the body that represents the local government sector right throughout WA to do an investigation of the program to understand the pros and cons for the local government sector to be involved. I do note one of the residents made a comment, and I think that it is timely given the situation we find ourselves in with 5 streets that have street-wide underground power, I think this is something that WALGA could examine in more detail going forward. So hence my notice of motion. Thank you.
Now, in terms of that notice of motion, is there? I can read that out so that everyone can understand what it is that the Mayor is looking to do and how that relates to the concerns that some members of the audience have expressed this evening. So the motion for the WALGA conference would be that WALGA undertake a review of the state government's underground power programs to identify and advocate for the removal of inequities affecting local governments, with particular consideration of funding arrangements, including the requirement for local government to make full project payments to Western Power during the construction phase, while in many cases local governments provide extended repayment arrangements to affected property owners over a number of years. Legislative reform, including advocacy for amendments to the relevant legislation to enable Western Power to recover the costs of underground power projects directly from electricity consumers, rather than requiring local governments to act as the funding intermediary. C, renewal liabilities, including the appropriateness or fairness of Western Power requiring local governments and their ratepayers to contribute financially to the renewal or replacement of Western Power-owned underground electricity infrastructure that forms part of the broader electricity network and pre-exists throughout entire streets or localities. Part 2, provide all local governments with a summary of the review findings and invite feedback on the issues identified and any proposed reforms. And 3, following consideration of that feedback, prepare a report for presentation to the WALGA zones, including recommendations for advocacy to the state government on any proposed legislative, policy or funding reforms arising from the review. So that's what has been put by Mayor Hamilton. So I would ask for a seconder to support that. Thank you, Councillor Long. Is there anybody that wishes to speak against this? And Madam Mayor, did you wish to say anything in favour of the notice of motion that you've put forward?
I'll keep it very brief. Obviously, there have been previous underground power programs that have run relatively smoothly. I would suggest that this recent one for the North Bassendean area, there have been a few issues along the way, including a very drawn-out, lengthy period between the original community consultation and the current situation we find ourselves in. As such, I feel that the community have not had the ability to understand the changes. The program itself, the project costs have more than doubled, and there is a significant cost involved. And if you're a ratepayer in a street that was formerly a housing project done 40 years ago, where all of those streets received underground power, I would think that it would be difficult to understand how they're going to be charged again. So this is an issue that I think we need to untangle, and certainly CEO and myself have requested another meeting with the Minister in the hopes that we can actually have a collaborative outcome, because I do believe in the benefits of underground power. I'm very supportive of underground power programs. However, in this instance, I think that we have some streets that have been incorporated into the project area, and councils do not have control over the project area boundary. We do not have control over the costings. We do not have control over many aspects of what is a state government infrastructure program. But we do take on a lot of the responsibilities of these projects, and part of that is to you get a bulk amount that is owed to Western Power. And then what the council is supposed to do is divvy that up between all the ratepayers within that area. So I'm seeking an equitable outcome, and hence my email and letter to the Minister requesting another meeting in the hopes that we can actually have some progress on this. Thank you.
Was there anybody against? Okay. Councillor John, please.
It's an interesting motion. Underground power's been around for more than 30 years. There's been many projects like this. I see this motion as an attempt to pass it from being a council responsibility to a state government responsibility. There were many grants and funding opportunities to encourage local governments to take up underground power when it came into effect. The reality is we're in the situation we're in now, like many local governments, because local government dragged its feet in organising these programs. So the reason it's there is that's the reason. In terms of how long, in terms of having it a more equitable outcome to the people who use Western Power, it's just shifting around which tax base is paying it. Instead of it coming out of rates, it would then instead come out of other tax to state government. So it's, you know, it still needs to be paid for, the infrastructure needs to be done. I think it's fair that people pay for the infrastructure they use for their own properties. While I acknowledge the difficulty people are having with the understanding that they're being charged a fee when for something they've already got, and the complexities around that, and I was interested in the answers that they received. I don't see how advocating to WALGA and asking the state government for legislative reform is productive. The local government doesn't need to pass on this cost. It could choose to fund it in different ways. I suggest we don't entirely point the finger at state government for something that's our own problem as well.
Thank you, Councillor John. Given that we have entered into debate, were there any other councillors that wish to speak in support of the Mayor's notice of motion? Thank you, Councillor Long.
I'll just speak briefly. I believe we're talking about a state government provided utility, albeit a private provider, but it's a state government provided utility and monitored utility. And to date, the delivery of that, as Mayor Hamilton has said, has fallen to the payment and the expectations management of delivering that service has fallen to councils. And I think it's actually unfair that a council or a local government area is called upon to basically take the hit for a project that's not essentially under their full financial or timeline control. And I think excusing or excluding local government out of that and actually encouraging a direct relationship between the service provider, which is Western Power, and the end customer is a far more sensible way to go.
Do we have any other speakers for or against? I might just speak in favour of that. Look, I've been elected to act for the residents of the district. That's who I go into bat for. I don't go into bat for the state government. This is an appropriate notice of motion that shifts the cost back to where it needs to be, and the notice of motion should be supported, and WALGA can properly interrogate it across all local governments. This is not just a Bassendean issue. Everyone's affected by this across the state. Let's see what WALGA can do for the residents of all districts across the state. Who seconded that? Was that... okay, you've spoken on that issue. Madam Mayor, did you want to sum up?
Thank you very much. Just to be clear, I am very supportive of underground power projects. I also note that this council has been very proactive in the past in chasing underground power projects for our district. In fact, the Eden Hill project, we advocated strongly for the incorporation of the North Bassendean area into the Eden Hill project. We were happy to do that as a combined project, which meant that North Bassendean would have been completed in 2022. Unfortunately, Western Power dictate the project boundaries. Even with this North Bassendean area, there is still a small section at the top of Eden Hill that will not be included, where those residents have been asking for years why they're not included. So we have no control over many aspects of these projects. Now, that is part and parcel of how the business is dealt with by the state government and Western Power. In general, I have no real problems with that. However, this recent incident of street-wide 5 streets that have received underground power 40 years ago when it was a housing development, and they are, as far as I know, connected to the peripheral, their power is connected to a peripheral overhead lines that are some many streets away. Now, you could turn around if the entire metropolitan area has underground power next week. They are all still connected to overhead power lines because the overhead major transition lines are never put underground. So to say that they're connected to a overhead source somewhere is not really, to my mind, logical. And I seek logic in asking WALGA to have a look at this. I'm asking for some logical explanation for how the program works. I'm not saying that we're going to have instantaneous changes because WALGA will take time to investigate this very, very thoroughly. The other thing too is legislative changes. Well, interestingly, Water Corp have a component of the water bill that goes to every household, which is for asset renewal. Now, I'm not entirely sure why Western Power and the electricity network are on a different basis. I do not understand that. I would like to understand that. And if Western Power and WALGA can provide some information about why this has evolved differently, I'd be very interested to know why that is. So I don't believe I have all the answers. What this notice of motion is requesting a search for information and potentially better ways of doing business. And maybe minds better than mine will come up with a solution or solutions that would suit everybody, the public, councils, state government. Not wanting to bag out anyone, I think that the underground power program is a fabulous program, and I would like to see it operate in a manner where everybody walks away really happy and very celebrating the fact that we are moving a step closer to having better amenity throughout our areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We will put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is all councillors save for all and against. Councillor John. So Councillor John is against. So that is carried. That moves us on to announcements of notices of motion for the next meeting. Are there any that councillors have? There are none. Urgent business, Madam CEO? No, nothing urgent. Confidential business, there is none. So that brings us to the closure. So I'll call the meeting to a close at 7:04. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.